petroleum transport by rail through Seattle and the state of Washington, urging adoption of state legislation and federal regulations, state assessment of risks, railroad company restriction of petroleum transport through Seattle, and update of city incident response plans to address the potential safety, environmental, and economic impacts of petroleum transport by rail. The committee recommends that the resolution be adopted as amended.
Councilmember O'Brien. So folks can see here, no exploding oil trains in Seattle. This resolution calls on a number of agencies, including ourselves, to do some work to better understand the risks that we're at and be prepared in case a tragedy strikes in one of these oil trains, derails or explodes. We've seen around the country the significant uptick in the transport of oil and petroleum products by rail. Sightline Institute was at the committee, and their research showed that a 57-fold increase in the amount of oil that's being transported in the country today compared to just 4 years ago. We've also seen tragedies around our country and in Canada where derailments have caused pollution and explosions. The most significant is in Quebec, where a town was essentially vaporized and 47 people killed in a huge tragedy. We don't need to wait for something like that to happen in our region to take action. What this bill does is it calls upon the federal government to enact better safety standards around the transport of these types of petroleum and how they're transported. It calls upon the state to look at the impacts to public safety, the environment, the economics, and traffic around transport, and ask the governor and his agencies to put a moratorium on issuing new permits for oil export facilities until we have a better understanding what's going on in our communities. And also ask the state to call for disclosure for railroad companies so we know what's being transported, what time it's being transported, and what the real risks are. We ask the railroad companies to disclose that information so that we can be prepared. And finally, we ask our own first responders here in the city of Seattle, the fire department, the Office of Emergency Preparedness, to review our preparedness plans to make sure that we have the protections in place so that we are as well informed in case there is a tragedy locally. And we ask them to report back to the appropriate committees by the end of June. Thank you, Councilman. Any questions or comments? This is a resolution, so all those in favor of adopting the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? She was applauding. All those opposed? So the resolution is adopted. Councilmember Swan.
Yes, of course I support this resolution. I really glad that agreed on that. And I think we should also start a conversation on the reality of the situation, that no amount of emergency preparedness will prevent a horrific tragedy like what happened in other places. And so we have to...
Councilmember Swan, could you grab your microphone there? Thank you. That's all right.
Tell you. We also have to start a serious conversation on moratorium, not only on the new oil projects as we have in the resolution, which is absolutely correct, but also start having a conversation on moratorium on all petroleum trains and oil trains in the first place, and coal trains in the first place.